What would you do if you were lost in the woods overnight? Would you keep moving and hope to find a way out, or stay still and call for help? If you have ever found yourself wandering around in the woods, you know how disorienting and scary it can be. But imagine if you were lost in the woods overnight in one of the most haunted forests in the world. What would you do? How far would you go to escape? Well, this story takes us through the horrifying experience of three friends who were stuck in a haunted forest overnight. Keep watching to find out more. Have you ever heard about the Echo Forest? Legend has it that thousands of years ago, a great battle took place in this forest, leaving behind a tragic tale of loss and sorrow. But there is another side to this story, one that speaks of paranormal activity, haunting whispers and eerie apparitions. Over the years, countless visitors have claimed to encounter supernatural phenomena within its bounds. And now you have the chance to explore its eerie paths and unravel its mysteries. But be warned, those who venture into the Echo Forest may never return the same. When Lucas, Evelyn and Max embarked on their journey into the Echo Forest, they thought they were prepared for anything. But as they ventured deeper into the woods, they began to realize that they had underestimated the true horror that awaited them there. The dense canopy of trees blocked out the sunlight and cast an eerie glow over the forest floor, creating an oppressive atmosphere that weighed heavily on their hearts. But as the darkness deepened, so did the sense of dread. They started hearing strange noises, rustling in the bushes, whispering voices on the wind, and the feeling that they were being watched intensified. Despite their attempts to rationalize these sounds away, a growing sense of unease settled over them, making each shadow seem menacing and every creak of a twig sound like a footstep. They quickened their pace, eager to reach a clearing or a familiar landmark. But the forest seemed to stretch on endlessly, taunting them with its labyrinthine paths. The initial thrill of adventure had long been replaced by a bone-chilling fear. Their laughter had died down and been replaced by nervous chatter. The weight of the forest's secrets pressed down on them, threatening to crush their spirits. They stumbled onward, their senses on high alert, their eyes darting from side to side, desperately seeking a way out of the forest's haunting embrace. As they walked, they started noticing odd markings on the trees, strange symbols carved into the bark, as if someone or something had been counting down their steps into the unknown. These markings were eerie and unsettling, and they served as a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked around every corner. The forest was alive with unseen entities, and they were their prey. But what was the forest trying to tell them? Was it warning them to turn back, guiding them toward a sinister destination? Unable to decipher the meaning behind these cryptic signs, they could only press on, each step taking them deeper into the forest's clutches. The fear that had been simmering within them now boiled over, threatening to consume them whole. Their breaths came in ragged gasps, their hearts pounding against their ribs like frantic drums, and their legs trembled beneath them, yearning for solid ground. They were lost, utterly and hopelessly lost in a realm where darkness held sway and nightmares danced in the shadows. When they looked up, they were greeted by the sight of gnarled branches clawing at the sky like the skeletal fingers of some ancient entity. The trees seemed to gather close, forming a dense wall of green that concealed whatever lay beyond. This was no ordinary forest. It was a sanctuary for the shadows, a place where the veil between the worlds was thin and the whispers of the dead echoed through the trees. There was something sinister lurking within this emerald labyrinth, something that watched their every move, something that fed on their fear. Each step they took into the forest's depths brought them closer to whatever lay at its heart, whatever evil resided in its darkest corners. The forest was alive, pulsing with an ancient energy that thrummed beneath their feet. It was a living, breathing entity that seemed to possess a will of its own. It twisted their minds, playing tricks on their eyes and ears, blurring the line between reality and madness. They were trapped in a waking nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. What's your opinion on ghost stories? Do you believe in ghosts or not? Let us know in the comments below. Finally, the trio reached a clearing. In the middle of the clearing stood an old, dilapidated cabin. It looked as if it had been abandoned for many years, its roof caved in, its windows shuttered. But what truly caught their attention was the single flickering candle that seemed to be burning inside. It was a faint, ethereal glow that emanated from the cabin's only window, casting long, dancing shadows on the overgrown grass. Could this be a sign of safety, a beacon of hope in the darkness? Or was it leading them into another trap, inviting them to enter the clearing? Was it a friendly gesture or a cruel deception? Curiosity battled with fear in their hearts as they stood at the edge of the clearing, torn between the allure of the unknown and the desire for safety. But before they knew it, the forest had woven its spell around them, drawing them inexorably toward the cabin with its flickering candle. The clearing beckoned, promising solace, or perhaps something more sinister, but the decision ultimately rested with them. And as they stepped into the clearing, they knew they would never be the same. Inside the cabin, Lucas, Evelyn, and Max found themselves in a room filled with antique furniture covered in dust. Cobwebs adorned the corners, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay. Suddenly, a rocking chair in the corner began to move slowly back and forth, as if someone had just got up from it. At first, they dismissed it as a trick of the wind, but as the rocking grew louder, their skepticism faded into sheer terror. The floorboards creaked under the weight of unseen footsteps, and disembodied voices whispered secrets from beyond the grave. It was as if the very walls of the cabin were alive, pulsating with a sinister energy that sent shivers down their spines. Lucas found an old diary on a dusty table, its pages filled with cryptic entries detailing the struggles of a young woman named Eliza trapped in a loveless marriage. Her words spoke of longing for freedom and an escape from the confines of her gilded cage. On one particular entry, the handwriting became frantic, detailing a plan to flee the suffocating life she had been forced into, to run away to the Whisperwood Forest, where the trees would cradle her tears and the earth would bear witness to her newfound freedom. The last entry was dated October 21st, 1867, the day she disappeared. Was Eliza still trapped within the forest's grasp, or had the Whisperwood swallowed her whole? Lucas felt a sudden chill crawl up his spine as the realization dawned on him. Could the forest be keeping its secrets buried, holding onto the fragments of lives lost in its unforgiving embrace? Was he about to uncover the truth, or become another victim of the Whisperwood's haunting legacy? He turned to Evelyn and Max, their faces illuminated by the flickering firelight, their eyes reflecting the turmoil in his own. They stood united in their determination to unravel the mystery of the Whisperwood and bring closure to those lost souls wandering its paths. Together, they delved deeper into the enigma of the forest, seeking answers among the whispering trees and the echoes of the past. And so they continued their journey through the forest, guided by the pale moonlight and the promise of answers. They followed winding paths, hopped over fallen logs, and navigated through thickets of thorny bushes, all the while keeping a wary eye out for any signs of danger. The forest seemed to twist and turn on itself, its paths ever shifting, ensuring that there was no easy way out. Just when their hope began to dwindle, they stumbled upon a small clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center stood an ancient oak, its branches reaching up like gnarled fingers clutching at the sky. Beneath the oak was a circle of standing stones, worn smooth by countless years of exposure to the elements. An eerie silence hung over the clearing, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl. It was a place where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural seemed razor thin. As they stood in the clearing, the air grew heavy with anticipation. The forest was revealing its secrets, and they were about to witness something beyond their wildest imaginations. Lucas, Evelyn, and Max looked at each other, their faces pale in the moonlight, and they knew that they were on the brink of discovering the truth behind the Whisperwood air's haunting legends. Whatever awaited them in the heart of the forest, they were determined to face it together, bound by their shared fears and the unbreakable bond of friendship. The Whisperwood had tested them, but they were ready to confront its